We're back in the studio here on a Wednesday. Hottest show on the streets, #1 forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Third Saturday in October rivalry this week between Bama and the Tennessee Volunteers. Matchup Saturday, Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. As always, folks, we're bringing the show from the Magic City of Birmingham. We stream this to you through YouTube. Speaking of the channel, you know what time it is. You hit that subscribe button right now. You tap subscribe. You get locked in. You get loaded onto hottest form of content for your Bama football. Hit the like button as well. Smash the like button. Give us a thumbs up. Raise up those like levels right there. Daily Super Chat Go, $100 daily. Super Chat Go, $100 right there. We appreciate that from all of you. We got a lot to get to on this evening. We're breaking down keys to victory for Alabama against Tennessee. We're looking at, can Alabama run through the remainder of its schedule without another blemish? When you look at the college football playoff, and then we look at the injury updates on two receivers for Alabama, Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law. Where do they stand for this week's matchup against Tennessee? As always, we want to hear from you. Phone line 205-448-1358 for them to call in to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you. But we right now, John, hop in the topic number one of the conversation, that being the keys to victory for Alabama against Tennessee. Matchup this weekend at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, third Saturday in October rivalry. Number one, this Alabama defense. Communication and eye discipline are going to be pivotal. They must be on point here. We have looked at, since the second half of the Georgia game, Alabama's defense has not been great in communication. It's not been great with eye discipline. It's been caught with its eyes in the wrong spots to allow teams like Vanderbilt to have major success. Vanderbilt got the win. It allowed South Carolina to have success, if not for a game-sealing interception by Damani Jackson last week. Who knows how that game could have ended? Kane Womack, it starts with him. He has got to get the call in on the field fast, quickly. If you look at guys like Deontay Lawson, Jihad Campbell, Malachi Moore, they got to make sure that call gets made across the board so that everybody knows what they're doing. Nobody looks lost as two left shoes out there. The communication, the eye discipline must be on point for Alabama against Tennessee. But number two key to victory here, Bama's got to commit to its running backs. That's Nick Sheridan. You got two guys in Justice Haynes and Jam Miller that need to touch the football more than 3 to 4 times a game. Jam Miller is averaging over 9 yards a carry right now. Justice Haynes is averaging over 5 yards a carry right now. These two need to touch the football. I understand. You as an offense, you want to give Jalen Milroe his design quarterback runs and whatnot, and that's all cute and good. But when you got two guys that need to have the football in their hands, you've got to commit to the run game and have that discipline to stick with it when you discuss Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. When you look at matchups against Vanderbilt and South Carolina, Alabama would start off running the football pretty well, getting 3 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, having success. But then Nick Sheridan would go away from it. You can't go away from it. You got to stick with it, because part of your ability to wear down an opposing team and control that time of possession and control the pace and flow of the football game is being able to successfully commit to running the football. Nick Sheridan has to be more disciplined in sticking with his running backs this week here against Tennessee. That's number 2. Number 3 in keys to victory, Jalen Milroe, the quarterback for Alabama. He's the X factor of this whole game. He's the X factor in the passing game. He's the X factor in the running game. He's the X factor in the leadership. Jalen Milroe is the X factor in this matchup here. Josh Heupel, Tennessee's head coach, he talked about it. What significantly concerns him about Milroe is Milroe's accuracy as a passer, Milroe's ability to hurt you in so many ways, hurt your defense in so many ways in the passing game and in the running game. Milroe has got to be on point this week. He's got to have that game he had against Georgia. Remember that game against Georgia where Milroe couldn't miss? That guy had what? 4 to 5 total touchdowns in that game. That guy was out there playing a video game against Georgia throughout that matchup, especially as a passer. Milroe couldn't miss against the Bulldogs. He needs to recap that performance against Tennessee. Go out there, dominate in terms of running, dominate in terms of throwing the football as well. Milroe is the X factor. You cannot be trying to force balls downfield, which result in turnovers. And another thing for Milroe, he has got to have that clock in his mind to not just hold the football. If the play is not there, throw the football away, protect yourself, protect the down and distance on the field. Most importantly, do not put yourself in a bad sack or a negative play situation. You go back to last week against South Carolina. Milroe, 2 interceptions. Both of those 2 were bad throws, and then he took bad sacks, either from Kyle Kennard, the best pass rusher on South Carolina's defense, or Dylan Stewart got after him as well. And when you look at Tennessee, they got James Pierce Jr. coming off the edge, along with other defensive weapons up front for Milroe. That mental clock, if it's not there, throw it away or pull the ball down and already have a preconceived decision. I'm running with this football. Can't sit there and take bad sacks. Can't sit there and make bad plays out there on the field. Number 3, Milroe's the X factor. Number 4, you look at, Alabama's offensive tackles. Elijah Pritchett, Caden Proctor are going to have their work cut out for them. Last week, those 2 guys got worked by Kennard and Dylan Stewart. This week, like I said, you got James Pierce Jr. Tennessee's got other guys in the defensive line that can and will create pressure. Proctor and Pritchett have to be on their A game. Or, if you're Nick Sheridan, have 7-man protection out there. Have a tight end, have a running back, help chip block. Because Tennessee is going to bring pressure. They're going to want to come after Milroe and frustrate him all game long. So Proctor and Pritchett, a big game for both of these 2 as offensive tackles. They got to handle this pass rush by Tennessee. Moving on here, a good thing for Alabama is the depth at the wide receiver position is starting to show up and show out, right? Alabama didn't have Kobe Prentice. It didn't have Kendrick Law against South Carolina. Alabama didn't have Kendrick Law against Vanderbilt. But you look at other guys are stepping up. Jeremy Bernard has become the number 2 weapon in this offense behind Ryan Williams. Bernard has become more comfortable. He's playing with more confidence, making more plays. He was the leading receiver for Bama against the Gamecocks last week. 5 catches for 89 yards and 1 touchdown. You look at Emmanuel Henderson. E-Man has stepped up. It seems like every week, E-Man has made a big play. Whether it's in the receiving aspect, whether it's in the blocking aspect, Emmanuel Henderson is continuing to make plays. He needs to have his reps increased out there on the field because of the job that he's doing. And then Cole Adams is making plays, y'all. Last week, 2 catches for 57 yards. Him coming back healthy from the injury he had against South Florida earlier in the season. So we're seeing the depth here in that wide receiver room rise up, starting to make plays here. But we know Ryan Williams is the number one. We know the freshman phenom is the leading receiver. But it's just good that you're starting to see more guys get involved here in the flow in this wide receiver room for Alabama. But that's just the keys to victory here, key to success for me for Alabama against Tennessee coming up here this weekend on Saturday. But we take another break right here. We'll take our first break right here on the show. Don't touch that dial. We're just getting started. When we get back, we go to the phone lines to get your calls, your thoughts, your conversations. We'll be right back to you, the Bama Nation, after this.
I'm Malachi Moore, and you're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith on Touchdown Alabama YouTube channel.
TDA Plus is the all-new Ultimate Alabama Football Package, perfect for any Alabama football fan. Not only do you get subscriber-only articles where you can stay up to date on everything that's going on with Alabama football, you also get our brand new video hub that features many podcasts and shows, including Stephen's Report with Stephen M. Smith. With over 15 years of covering Alabama football, you get trusted information as Stephen goes in person to see the team come back and break down to you what he saw live in person. You also get the Way It Is podcast with Stephen M. Smith, where he tells never-heard-before stories and crazy situations that happened during his 15-year tenure of covering Alabama football. You also get Justin and Dex, where they break down recruits like you've never seen it before, with exclusive behind-the-scenes information and exclusive interviews with recruits. You also get Justin's Recruiting Bites with Justin Smith, where you get the best up-close and personal recruiting information and even talks to you while he's on the road going to recruiting events. Alabama fans, you don't want to miss this huge offer for a jam-packed experience for only $7.95 per month. Visit touchdownalabama.com and become a TDA Plus member today.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people, we're back rocking and rolling to the action from the break on a Wednesday, hump day, number one ticket for your Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. You guys continue smashing the like button. Hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up on the show. Tap that subscribe button as well. Get yourself locked on to the hottest show on the streets here. That being In My Own Words right here on YouTube. Daily Super Chat go $100. Daily Super Chat go $100 right there. We appreciate that from all of you. But phone lines open, 205-448-1358. The number to call in to let your voice be made known, 205-448-1358. One more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you as you guys are getting your thoughts prepared to call in. We got a call right here now. We go to the phone lines to grab your call. Calls have been brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Steve, my boy, what's going on in G?
G, man, what's happening, brother?
Not much, man. Not much. No, but it's been a wild way. I think I ain't called you shit. What, three games ago? We ain't speaking. It's a lot been going on since them 3 games, man.
A lot's been going on, brother. A lot's been going on, especially on the defensive side of the football, which this 4-2-5 swarm has not been swarming the way that we would like for it to, that we envisioned it to. This week against Tennessee, though, could be some changes. I'm starting to hear some small things about, using more Justin Jefferson inside and kind of making Jihad Campbell more of a rusher this game to really frustrate Nico Iamaleava. So, going to be interesting.
Hey, Steve, what's crazy is after the Vandy game, I said, man, I just talked to my boy Steve, and I said, we're going to find out how well our secondary sets the edges. We kind of talked about that. It's going to come down to the run game. Everybody helps with it. A lot of people think it's the D-line. Of course, it starts with the D-line. But when it comes to contain, that's really up to the ends, your corners, and your safeties got to stop the forward movement. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we found out, to add the truth, we found out, we already knew this, but we have not come nowhere near close to replacing Caleb in the secondary, and we kind of expected that. But Steve, I'm going to say something that's kind of crazy. After that Vandy loss, and who we just played South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
I really walked away confident about the rest of our season. I'm going to tell you why. Because, you know, we when you watch previous Bama championship teams, they all have had ugly-ass wins with them, except the A.J. McCarron. Not the A.J. McCarron, I'm sorry. The Matt Jones? Yeah, Matt Jones. That ring was fairly easy with the Najee and the Smitty. And you had Matt. And who was calling that thing? Who was calling that offense that year? Was it
That
Sarkisian
would be
or
Steve
Dave?
Sarkisian.
Yeah. That might have been one of the easiest chips we had. But outside of that, every road has been rocky. Saban has how many undefeated championships here? 1 or 2 out of 6 or 7. So, after watching it, I think I started seeing the ingredients in the pudding. So when you look at it, I think we're not playing the best guys. I said it every year, but I want to figure out why is Mbakwe not playing, right? So you got Mbakwe, and then me and you talked about this before. I feel we lost the Natty last year because of Lawson and Jahai Campbell not being distinctive guys. And I think that for the last 3 weeks especially, Lawson and Campbell, they know the play, they know the scheme, but they're not really instinctive, right? And what's so shocking about those two is, we talked about this before, it's no consequences for not being good anymore. It's no longer production-based playing time. When we left the A-Day game, I asked you after the A-Day game, I said, Steve, I don't think we have a better linebacker here than Justin O. You said, yeah, you kind of agree, but we both knew he wasn't going to play because of his youth. But when the game time has come over these past 3 to 4 weeks, we have better options at middle linebacker. It's just, are we going to play it? But I'm really inspired, Steve, because we fought in this last game. And we fought ugly in the Vandy game, right? But this game versus South Carolina, we played 2 first-round D linemen. A lot of fans are, we can't do this. You have not went up against a first-round D lineman to be complaining, right? We missed a lot of tackles versus South Carolina. They had 2 230-pound backs. So everybody on the couch going to say what we could have done against that, but you ain't never seen that to say what you could have done, right? So I'm inspired because Miro, he's due for a bad game, right? But the defense, to me, I think we're going to win, Steve, off of our brotherhood instead of winning off of a superstar like we're used to. You know what I'm saying? We're used to the Quinnens, the Will Andersons, the showstoppers, right? I think this team is going to develop into a unit because of the road. And I think we're going to handle this thing. What you think?
I look at this, Gene. My main thing is Saturday, Kane Womack, call this thing right. Get the calls in there. Make sure that communication is all across the board. I don't care if you have to throw your little note card on the ground. Kane Womack, make sure these calls get in.
Not the little card. Hey, look,
I'm just saying, he's sitting here looking like he Mike Leach. He looking like he Mike Leach got arrested with that note card to his mouth. Like, throw that thing down, man, and get the call in.
But did you notice when we started the game last week, we came out in that old Bama. We came out with 3 down linemen, and we came out with a jack. Steve, I'm going to let you go. I think our coordinators are going through a rough patch of understanding what it takes to win in the SEC.
I agree
you got
with that.
Sheridan.
I agree with that.
You got. So you see, both of these guys are trying to bring in what they did do. You got Sheridan trying to bring in the Washington offense, but he's realizing you can't score that fast over here. You know what I'm saying? You got to run the ball a little more over here. You don't have Penix at quarterback over here. The same things is going on with Womack. If you watch the game, he's switching up the front. It is not the same 1-2-2-1 that he's been running, right? Like I said, when he started off last week, he started off running our base defense for the past 4 to 5 seasons. He's trying it. And I think as a Bama nation, we have to be patient because these guys don't know. And we're realizing how much Saban played a part in keeping everybody on the what to do, how to do it, when to do it. You know what I'm saying? These guys are learning without the GOAT. And we're seeing it, and we're so spoiled. We're so used to beating the hell out of Vandy, South Carolina, that we're not realizing that these guys do not know the expectations, Steve. I'll let you.
Appreciate G from Raleigh calling in, giving us his thoughts right there. So John, based off what we heard there from G, here's my thing. How much? And before I get to my thought, we're going to take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, Steven, this is Mike from Kentucky, man. What's going on, brother?
Doing good, Mike. We got that third Saturday in October game this weekend. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. You know, Tennessee plays really, really fast, man. They're going to keep you in base defense most of the day. I mean, what else can you do? You know, it's you got to sub in 3 seconds against them boys or wait for a first down or something. You know, it's hard to get players on and off the field playing Tennessee. But I agree 100% with your last caller. I mean, we're still a little young in the secondary, and these boys are still learning the game. And we don't have those true meat eaters, you know, those NFL first-round guaranteed guys on defense. But I think we got enough good ball players to give anybody a game. You know, I think they need to clear out some space and throw some, you know, maybe 2 check downs. Don't ask Milrow to stand back there and make 3 or 4 check downs. Tennessee's going to be coming. I don't think there's going to be enough time for that. You know, clear out some space, fill it with somebody, get the ball out quick. And, you know, I've seen our running game before not develop till November. I mean, what was that year? Was it Najee and Damian? I think we had 100-yard rushing game before November that season, and we still won a national title.
Right, and Mike, I think that year was 2017. Yeah, that was 2017.
Yeah, everybody's like, "Where's the running game? Where's the running game?" But in November, it showed up. So
it did show up in November. You are correct. It did show up then.
I'm not going to panic. You know, I just want everybody to keep a positive vibe, man, because negative energy, you know, it spreads. You know, we got to back these boys up. I think, you know, man, I ain't seen Tennessee have a good day. Really a complete game. I mean, they've been averaging 50 yards in offense in the first half. If they come out and do that against Bama, we should have a 3-score lead on them. I'm not really terribly concerned about this game unless Nico just has a game of his life or something. But, you know, that's how it goes when you play Bama. You know, people put their best foot forward. But I'm not real concerned about this game, man. Tennessee is I ain't seen them play a full game yet. Man, Oklahoma gave them all they wanted. You know, but, I mean, there really ain't no bad teams in the SEC this year. You know, it's a bad neighborhood. There ain't a school out there that can't black your eye this year in the SEC. You know, that just goes to show how tough this league is. People don't realize it's a different breed of cat when you play in the SEC. Vanderbilt will black your eye if you don't put your best foot forward. Well, I'm going to get off, man. I imagine you got a lot of players, a lot of callers waiting to call, man. Roll Tide, Steven.
Appreciate Mike from Kentucky calling in here on a Wednesday. We're going to go to this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feel? And state your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steven. It's Daniel from Phoenix City. How are you?
Daniel, doing fantastic. And yourself?
Man, I am hanging in there. It's going good. I am looking forward to Saturday.
Looking forward to Saturday myself, man. I mean, this is going to be a very intriguing game. You go back up to Neyland. You know, 2 years ago with Bryce Young, it didn't end the way Bama Nation wanted it to. You go back up there. Josh Heupel's got a lot of confidence. You got Nico Iamaleava at quarterback. You got a good running back in Dylan Sampson. But for this Alabama team here, offensively, you have the ingredients to win this game. Defensively, Can the Tide offset this Tennessee offense just enough to win this?
Well, I was looking, you might have seen the same post I did. I didn't even think about this. I saw some guy post something about 2014 Bama. They had that bad loss to Ole Miss that year.
I was there.
The next game, they squeaked by Arkansas.
Yes, I
and
remember
then
that too.
they turn around and make a playoff run. And of course, they peed down their leg against Ohio State, but I digress. I still think that there's some gas left in the tank. I don't look at this past Saturday and worry a whole lot because you and I both know, just like I'm sure you were there for Arkansas last year. If I'm not mistaken, that was a noon kickoff, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And for years, even under Coach Saban, for whatever reason, those noon kickoff games are up. They struggle every year, and it drives me insane. But I mean, am I wrong there?
I mean, the noon kickoffs, Daniel, have been a problem. The noon kickoffs, the 11 a.m. kickoffs have been a problem. And Daniel, I'm happy you mentioned the 2014 team because there are some similarities between both of those teams. You look at 2014, you didn't quite know who your leaders were on defense early on. Those guys had to grow into that. Reggie Ragland had to grow into being a leader. Landon Collins had to grow into being a leader. So you didn't quite know who your leaders were. Cyrus Jones had to grow into being a leader. So that's the same thing with this year's team. You don't quite know who your alpha guys are. They have to grow into those roles.
Oh, agreed. And even on the offensive side of the ball, now Blake Sims was actually one of my favorite quarterbacks, and people were dumping on him that year. I freaking loved that guy because, a little different, but, it's hard to follow a dude like A.J. McCarron.
Right.
But then you have Blake Sims because A.J. McCarron was awesome. I mean, we all love A.J. But you have Blake Sims come behind him, and I didn't feel like he came into his own as a quarterback until the second half of that year. And then it's like that's when he let go, and you could start seeing the dude have just fun. And he balled out the rest of the year. And now, Jalen Milroe, probably now my favorite Bama player of all time because that dude's just been through everything. And he's just persevered, and I love his attitude. And I saw Saturday, even with all the crap that went down, we all know that wasn't Jalen's best game. That's fine. The dude just kept going out there, and he kept attacking. And Jalen's going to do that this year. I really do believe it. I'm excited about this team. I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm hoping, like you said, to see Kane Womack do maybe a little something different on the defense. The only thing really I keep seeing as far as players go, because these are kids, I'm not going to bash them, but the missed tackles have got to stop. And then the playing out of position, because there are times where guys are where they're supposed to be, then they come out of where they're supposed to be, like Coach Womack said, and then you're having to compensate in that middle of the field. That's been what I feel has been, as far as passing, the shovel passes and all that bull, as long as they keep that middle of the field blocked up, maybe again with the 4-3, because we've got some dudes at corner and safety. At some point, you're going to have to distrust those guys and, maybe run that third linebacker. And that's really all I got to say, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Appreciate Daniel calling in from Phoenix City, giving us his thoughts on the show. We got some more calls on the line here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Good evening, Steve. This is Don calling from D.C. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Don, and yourself?
I can't complain, man. It won't do me no good anyway.
Right.
Man, I know I'm that fan. I'm that Bama supporter. I don't sugarcoat
DP,
things.
My guy, you be who you are, man. You are the passion, man. Without you, Without you have to ask yourself, where's that Bama fan base without that passion?
I grew up following this team. Growing up in Montgomery, man. I grew up in the days of the Bear. I just seen a lot of Bama football in my life. So if people get upset at me for being that direct, it's not from a place of negativity. It's a place of understanding that the players that we have, the team structure that we have, even after Saban retired, he didn't leave us bare. He didn't leave the caverns bare. We got a pretty decent squad with a lot of talent. I would think that the performance of the team would be a lot better overall. I get it. There's growing pains with a new coach. There are growing pains with a new system. But it's like what I iterated on a few other talk shows in earlier in the year. The basic fundamental things of blocking, tackling, knowing where to step when you block, knowing the route you need to run. That's basic fundamental football. Those are the mistakes I'm seeing. It just baffles me on how, and I get it, no team's perfect. No team's going to do everything perfect. No player's going to do everything perfect. But it just kind of baffles me on the volume of mistakes that we're seeing in these games. And again, I attribute that to coaching. Last year we could put a lot on the players. We could put a lot on the players' motivations with the NIL and all this good stuff. I think that may be a factor in it, but I don't think that's the main factor. Again, with new coaches, of course, everybody's got to learn each other, a new system, people have got to buy in. But at the same time, you have to be able to sell. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on that, Steve. If you can, give me your input on that. And, if I'm going too hard, y'all forgive me, but I love this team, man. I grew up Bama. I'm Bama to the heart. So when I see that things could be done better, I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell the truth.
And Don, things can be done better. And it starts with communication. It starts with that communication right there. You look at defensively, the reason why we are seeing guys not in the right spots, guys looking lost, guys not knowing what to do. The communication is not being put across the board. Whether that's Kane Womack not getting the play out in time, whether it's leadership players not communicating that call to everybody, there's a problem there. If you look at eye discipline's been a problem. Guys have been caught with their eyes in the wrong spots, and the play is going right by them. But guys have been caught in the wrong gap, not fitting your correct gap, not doing your respective job. And that's what makes a team work, is everybody do your specific job. Don't try to do Tiny Tim's job. Do yours. And I feel like that's the big thing that Alabama has got to clean up and fix. If it wants to kind of turn this thing around defensively, you got to do your job. And then offensively, it's got to be a balance. You can't just be an explosive play offense with Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams is special. That 17-year-old kid is different. But you got to have a balance in your offense. That's the big thing there. Appreciate Don calling in, giving us his thoughts on the show. We go to this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Colton from Birmingham, Alabama.
Colton, how we feeling, man?
I'm doing well. I've enjoyed the first few games, and I have high hopes, but trying to keep them suppressed a little bit just for just DeBoer's first year and everything like that.
I mean, it's a thing where you have expectations. You wonder, should I temper those back after everything that we saw in the betterment of 17 years under Nick Saban? Do we temper back the expectations for Coach DeBoer? I mean, I can see that. I can understand that. This team is 5-1. Some people say, yes, it's 5-1. Awesome. Other folks say, yeah, it's 5-1, but not the 5-1 we were expecting. So it's a lot of craziness this season so far.
And a 5-1 with a loss to Vanderbilt is much different than 5-1 with a loss to Georgia. So, I mean, that's where it gets into it. But I've been a Bama fan since 2009. Then again, I am a young buck. So the difference is DeBoer in his first year looks good offensively, of course, as we expected. But defensively, we do have a young group, but he is not known for his defense coming from the West Coast. But also Saban's first year, he was just 7-6. So, I mean, I know DeBoer's come in with much better talent overall. But Saban did start that year, so I don't think we should have too high of expectations for him. But this weekend against Tennessee, we need to shut some dogs up and tell them who's back, because we're 16-1, 17-1 in the past 18 times playing Tennessee. So we need to lock back in and show them who's the top dog in the SEC again.
Appreciate Colton calling in from Birmingham, giving us his thoughts on the show. We roll with this caller. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, Stephen. This is Kevin from Nashville, Tennessee. How are you?
Doing great, Kevin, and yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, listen, I just want to first tell you how much we appreciate all us old dudes, you keeping the baton passed, because I'm 63 years old, and when I was 5 or 6, I thought Bear Bryant was president before I knew any better. So, you know,
Kevin, look, man, I thought the same thing. Don't feel bad.
Okay, good. Hey, listen, I have a little insider information being from Nashville. I met a couple a few days ago, and they were at the Vanderbilt game. And they were actually only about 6 or 7 feet away from the sidelines, the Alabama sidelines. And they said the boys were on their cell phones. They were taking selfies. And we've actually seen that on national TV a few times. And it made me think about when Jalen Milroe was benched, after the Texas game. And he was on the sidelines, and he was jumping up and down, and he was doing all these things. But where do you see him now? He's not doing that anymore. Now, I'm not blaming the players. I'm just saying there appears to be a potential lack of discipline, which translates into how well do you block? How well do you tackle? And I'm just feeling something here where we have a bit of a lack of discipline. And I'm talking from a guy that's been watching Alabama football as long as I can remember. And, I think these people were honest folks. I don't think they would lie to me. I just find that a little disturbing, and I'm curious what your thoughts are and what everybody else's thoughts are on that.
Well, Kevin, I've noticed a lack of discipline myself, and not just with the cell phones and what have you, but, everybody on the team has like a podcast show now. And once again, I understand name, image, likeness, NIL, players getting paid. I get all of that. I understand all of that. But this is also becoming a cultural thing, right? When Nick Saban was at Alabama, when Bear Bryant was the coach, they did an awesome job of keeping players super locked in. It didn't matter if you were playing Georgia. It didn't matter if you were playing the Sisters of the Poor. Those coaches kept everybody locked all the way in, from the starters to the darn towel boy. They were all locked in. And I look at this culture here, I don't see the locked-inness from everybody. It's, well, we lost to Vanderbilt. Okay, big whoop. Oh, we barely scraped by South Carolina. Okay, big whoop. When the culture of the past, guys were so frustrated when they didn't get something right, they would fight their own teammate. Like, that was that type of passion.
Well, fear is a great motivator. And at the end of the day, you should love your coach, but you should also fear them too. Fear the repercussions of the next week and how many laps you're going to be running because you missed a block. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about discipline and focus and making sure that your head is in the game every second that you're on that sideline. I just found that extremely disturbing, that the kids on the sideline were not necessarily paying attention, because you can learn something every single second of the game, and you can talk to your other players next to you and say, hey, man, let's there just seems to be a lack of focus. And I've been through every single era you can possibly imagine, starting with Bear Bryant, working way through Fred Cione and everybody else, and there's ups and downs in it. But Alabama, in my history, has always been disciplined. Everything is discipline. Everything. I mean, Jalen Milroe said on a call a few days ago when he was being interviewed, he said, "We're going to have a lot of fun." You're not supposed to have fun when you're playing Tennessee. The fun is after you win and you like those cigars. There should be nothing fun about playing one of your biggest competitors. You should be angry. You should be, you should be so focused to where your plan is not to have fun. The fun is when you win and smoke those cigars.
Absolutely. Appreciate Marcus giving us his thoughts. Not Marcus, appreciate my man Kevin, my bad, of Nashville, giving his thoughts here on the show. And I go back to something Nick Saban mentioned when he was the head coach at Alabama. He said the fun is in the winning. Winning is fun. And this speaks to players take on the personality of the head coach. If the head coach is all about that business, then the players will be all about that business. If the head coach seems to be more of that happy-go-lucky, fun-loving players coach, but not on the players the way he should be, then you could have a situation where the players walk all over the coach. Now, am I saying the players are walking all over King and DeBoer? I'm not saying that. I'm not there, every single solitary day. But what I am saying is there was a certain respect and a fear factor as far as reverence and respect when it came to Nick Saban. There was a certain respect when it came to Bear Bryant. There was a certain respect when it came to Gene Stallings. I'm not seeing that level so far when it comes to King and DeBoer. Maybe it gets turned around. Who knows? I'm just not seeing it right now. We got some super chats to get to. Marcus Early is in the building with the $19.99. Dropping that in there. Appreciate that from Marcus Early. Then we got my man Big Bill. Bill from New York dropping that 701 in the super chats. Appreciate that from Bill. And then Don Parker's in here with the $10 donation, helping us out on the show. We got one more caller right here, folks. We go to the phone lines to grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Stephen, Bill from New York. Good to talk to you again, man.
Bill, I'm happy to be back in here. I'm happy to have you on the phone. Lay it on me, man. What's going on?
Look, it's what the previous caller, he's talking about with Milroe saying, look, we're going to have fun in Tennessee. I don't think he meant harm by saying that. But, I remember Jonathan Allen in an interview saying that he asks people when they want to come to Alabama, he says, are you sure you want to come to Alabama? Alabama's not supposed to be about having fun. It's not like he's in a party with me and my guys from the old neighborhood. You know what I mean? We're here to win football games. And all these things that are happening. Malachi Moore, I thought he was like the nicest kid in the world. Never heard a peep out of the guy. Now he's throwing fits on the field. This wouldn't happen under Saban, Stephen. There's no chance. There's no chance. Saban ain't losing to Vanderbilt. Oh, all right, let me keep calm. All these things wouldn't be happening. I don't know about this coach. Talking about music at practice. Say, what's going on, Stephen? What is happening to these people?
So right now, Bill, there's a different culture being brought in. So DeBoer is bringing the culture that he had from Washington. That's where you're getting the music. That's where you're getting the ice cream trucks. This is where you're getting players having a bit more of a say. But here's my thing, right? My thing is you still have so many guys from that tough Saban regime in that locker room, whether it's players from that Saban regime. You've got coaches from that regime, whether it was Ha Clinton Dix, who played for Coach Saban, whether it's Josh Chapman, who played for Coach Saban, whether it's Denzel Duvall, who once again played for Coach Saban. So there's still a lot of that Saban in this new coaching staff. Those guys have got to speak up even more about, hey, this is not how we do things here. I understand Nick Saban is not the head coach anymore. I get that. But there's still some of that Saban remnant on this team, and that Saban remnant needs to come to the forefront. It needs to. Especially,
you're right.
Especially if you're talking about trying to compete for a conference championship, and most importantly, trying to position yourself for the best spot in the college football playoff, then that Saban remnant needs to make its way to the forefront.
That's the truth. And you know what else, Stephen? I got to say, this is just my opinion. I think talent-wise, this team is better than last year's team. Last year was Milroe's first year. He was inexperienced. He only had a few games in his whole career, right? He's working everything out. Now he's older and better. We got a great front seven. Otis, get the hell out. I don't care about Otis. Goodbye. And the secondary, you got young guys making a game-winning play against Georgia. Look, I don't think this team is worse, and they're playing horribly by our standards, And it's just sad to watch. But look, I'm never going to give up. You know what I mean? I'm never going to give up. But, I don't know, Steve. Anyway, I'll let you go. Always great to talk to you, brother.
Absolutely. Bill from New York calling it. It's not one to give up on. It's one to where there are things that you got to clean up, though. There are areas that you got to clean up, whether it's penalties, whether it's poor tackling, whether it's lack of situational awareness, whether it's third down defense. There are areas that need to be cleaned up offensively, whether it's having an offensive balance, mixing things up, running pass game, not being so overly Jalen Milroe, Ryan Williams reliant. There are areas on this team that need to be worked on, that need to be fixed. And I think the biggest thing, John, and I was about to get into this point before the callers started coming in. I appreciate all of you guys for calling in. This coaching staff is finally starting to understand we're not in the Pac-12 anymore. This is a grown man's league. And it's a league where if you don't bring your A game every single week, you getting your cookies taken, no milk. I'm sorry. If you don't bring your A game every single week, it's not going to be good for you, because this is a grown man's league. A recent caller just talked about it. This is a league where if you don't bring your A game, Vanderbilt, the GPA, the Scripps National Spelling Bee, the Scrabble School of the SEC will black your eye if you don't bring your A game. The Scrabble School of the SEC will punk you out if you don't bring your A game. So this coaching staff is finally starting to grasp the understanding of that. Now, does it make Tennessee the game where it turns that corner and it starts playing like Alabama? We're going to have to see, because this one is not going to be a gimme up there at Neyland, taking on Josh Heupel and company. But call topic right here, folks. We got Alabama reserve linebacker Yonsei Pierre, who had a little bit of a surgery on last Tuesday. He was starting to finally get more playing time at that Wolf backer position. According to Kalen DeVore and the SEC coaches teleconference today, Yonsei is still kind of up in the air in terms of his return. They have him listed as possibly questionable or maybe probable going forward. But we'll see what happens here with Pierre. Once again, he did have a little surgery done, on last Tuesday. So happy he was able to recover from that. Hopefully, Bama can get him back on the field as quickly as they can. But for those of you on the call line, hold on for the next 10 minutes or call back in the next 10 minutes. We'll definitely get to you. When we get back to the action from the break, we're going to dive into, can Alabama roll through the remainder of the schedule unscathed? Can it get through the schedule in terms of getting the best seating it can for the college football playoff? We'll talk about that after this. We're out here at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa. Oh, man. Gotta get this. Gotta get one of these right here. Can't rock that Bama without this shirt right here, fresh polo. You gotta also rock the all pink, like Kanye West right there. Keychains, gotta get you some keychains. University of Alabama keychains. I'm telling you, if you are a die-hard Alabama fan and you're looking for some big-time apparel, this place has got everything. We're talking shirts, shoes, sweatshirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, keychains. If you're just a Tide fan that has an itch to get more apparel, get more swag in your game, you come right here at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa, right here in Midtown Village. And also you can shop online. The link is in the description to get your gear right here at Alumni Hall.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, folks, we're back in here rocking and rolling to the action from the break on a Wednesday hump day. Hottest show on the streets, talking your Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA in studio. Be sure to always hit that subscribe button. Tap subscribe right now to get yourself locked in, having all Bama in the palm of your hands here by watching this show. Hit that like button as well. Smash the like button. Get those like levels up. We appreciate that. Of a daily super chat go, $100. Daily super chat go, $100. We appreciate that coming from all of you. But topic 2 of the conversation here, John, can Alabama run through the remainder of its schedule unscathed, starting with this matchup against Tennessee, where college football playoff seeding is concerned? I was watching ESPN's Heather Dinich, college football playoff analyst for ESPN, and she talked about, as bad as the Vanderbilt loss was for Alabama, it's not as bad as what people think. The College Football Playoff Committee is actually looking at that as a quality loss. Not a negative loss, but a quality loss. So they're looking at this as actually something that helps Alabama. Vanderbilt on the season, this is going to sound crazy, Vanderbilt's 4-2. It's got impressive wins over Virginia Tech, Kentucky, Alabama. They're ranked 35th in the Football Power Index. It's wild. Clark Lay has changed that entire program around. So you look at this now. So if the loss to Vanderbilt was actually a quality loss, if you look at King and DeBoer, you're asking yourself, and you're asking him, can DeBoer help Bama win out the remainder of its schedule in terms of trying to get the best seeding here in the college football playoff? This starts with this weekend's matchup against Tennessee, because you got some tough games down the stretch here. You got at Tennessee. You got to win this game at Neyland Stadium this weekend. Then you got at LSU. You go to Baton Rouge. You go to LSU, as those matchups here coming up on screen. Then you got Missouri at home. That's homecoming. You go to Oklahoma, to Norman, and you got Auburn at home for the Iron Bowl. These are no gimmies. All of these are tough football games. All of these are big-time matchups. Can Alabama win all of these in terms of the regular season schedule to where you would finish 11-1? You could possibly be in Atlanta for the SEC championship, providing other things happen. You could possibly either be in the top 4 first-round seeds to get a bye in the college football playoff, or at the very least, host a college football playoff game. But can King and DeBoer run through the remainder of this regular season schedule unscathed here? Because it all starts with Tennessee. You got to go to Rocky Top this weekend. This is going to be a matchup here. Nico Iamaleava with that group of receivers in the Thornton kid, Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, and then at running back you got Dylan Sampson, who's been on a tear of a season. He's got 699 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns. but dude is averaging 115 yards rushing per game. That's a grown man out there. So can Alabama handle this Tennessee team? Now, the last couple of weeks here, Nico has struggled in the passing game. Arkansas showed him different looks that threw him off. The Razorbacks won that game 19-14. And then last week, Florida showed Nico different looks. He struggled. It took Dylan Sampson to get Tennessee to the overtime 23-17 win over the Gators. So can Kane Womack offset this Josh Heupel offense? That's the biggest question this week. Can Kane Womack do enough in the pre-picture and in the post-picture to confuse Nico Iamaleava and also shut down Dylan Sampson? If Kane Womack can get these calls out quickly and call a defense that can do what I'm talking about, Alabama will handle Tennessee. This is on Kane. This game is on Kane Womack right here. This one's on Kane Womack. Kane talked about the reason why I left South Alabama to come to the University of Alabama is for games like this. Well, here you go, Kane. Here you go. You got to offset this Josh Heupel Tennessee offense. Let's see if you can get this done here, because that's one of the biggest pieces, if not the biggest piece, of this football game. And for Alabama, as a whole team here, if there is a second loss on the schedule, where does it come? Because I feel like 11-1 Alabama makes the playoff. 10-2 Alabama makes the playoff. 9-3 Alabama, it ain't getting in there. So you can only have 2 losses. If there's a second loss, where does it come? Does it come against Tennessee? Does it come on the road against LSU? Because this coaching staff has never been to Death Valley at night. You got LSU there. Does it come on the road against Oklahoma? You got to go all the way up to the Norman. That's going to be a crazy environment. Or does the loss come at home to either Missouri or Auburn? We all know Auburn don't got a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out. But when it comes down to playing Bama, Auburn going to look like the New England Patriots out there. Just the truth. Just how it is. So if there happens to be, I'm not saying there will be, but if there happens to be a second loss on the schedule, where does it come? Bigger question. Can Kane and DeBoer run through the rest of this regular season schedule unscathed where the college football playoff is concerned, starting with Tennessee? We are about to see starting this Saturday. We're going to take another break here, folks, and touch that dial. When we get back, we return to the phone lines. We grab more of your calls, more of your thoughts, more of your conversations. We want to hear from you. Blow the phone lines up. Get your opinion made known after this.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Marvin Constant, All-SEC linebacker and 1999 SEC champion. You are listening to In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, folks, we're back into the action here from the break on a Wednesday, hump day. Number one ticket for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA. Got a bit of an injury update for you here. So the Southeastern Conference, they're doing this new thing here weekly before each game. They're releasing injury updates, injury reports. So for Alabama, here you go here. They've got Caden Jones, a freshman linebacker. He is out for this game. So Caden Jones will not play against Tennessee. Then you got reserve linebacker Unscathed Pierre. He's listed as questionable. He may play, he may not. Going to be kind of a game time decision, but he's listed as questionable. Then you got Damani Jackson, Kobe Prentice, and Kendrick Law. They're all listed as probable, meaning all three of those guys are going to play. All three of those guys are going to play. When you're listed as probable, there's a 90 to 95% chance you're going to play. I go back to, remember the Georgia game earlier this season? Quay Russaw, Justin Jefferson were both listed as probable in the injury report. They both played. Quay Russaw that game, 4 tackles, a tackle for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and Justin Jefferson had a forced fumble as well. Bama got the 41-34 victory. So going back to the injury report here, Damani Jackson, Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law, all listed as probable. I believe all three of those guys are going to play. All three of those guys will play. Unscathed Pierre listed as questionable. He could play, but again, he could not play. He'll be a game time decision, the reserve linebacker. And then Caden Jones, the freshman linebacker, is out. He's listed as out here for this game, so he will not play against Tennessee. That's just the injury report there from the Southeastern Conference. Gotta shout out Marcus Early again with that 4.99, dropping that over the bucket right there, helping us out here on the show. Let's see here. They want to know about ice cream trucks at practice. So here we go. And that's what the fans say, ice cream trucks at practice. So that was started by Kalen DeBoer at Washington, where he would treat the players after practice with having the ice cream truck. And this started at Alabama under DeBoer back in fall camp, late in fall camp, where after a practice, I'm out there, I'm hearing the ice cream truck come up, and the child inside of me wanted an orange creamsicle, but I didn't go get the orange creamsicle. But, you know, the players were outside the ice cream truck getting that. Coaches were out there getting that. And then also, you know, DeBoer brought the whole food truck thing because at Washington he had the food truck thing, and he's bringing that here to Alabama. It's just a different culture, just a completely different culture. And there's pros and cons to it. But I look at, you know, the biggest con right now is we're not seeing the discipline, we're not seeing the toughness, we're not seeing the awareness, we're not seeing the physicality, we're not seeing just the overall respect and reverence of the coaching staff, right? And I go back to just a moment here. And we have moved on from the Vanderbilt game, right? We've moved on. The only reason I bring this point up, John, is to make a point, right? So here's the point I'm trying to make. And fans, hear me out as I say this. Here's the point I'm trying to make. The fourth quarter against Vanderbilt, when Malachi Moore has the moment he has late in the fourth quarter where he's throwing his mouthpiece out of his mouth, or he is kicking the football after the ref sets it in play, when he's literally looking at the coaching staff and, for lack of a better word, telling them to blow off somewhere, right? When I looked at that, because I know Malachi, I know his family, great kid. I mean, we here at TDA covered him in high school. We know this young man, great young man, impeccable character, right? Phenomenal young man. Great family, absolutely. Malachi doesn't just do stuff like that unless there's an inner problem going on. Malachi just doesn't go off like that unless something is really happening. Malachi is normally an even keel dude, right? So for that to happen, you have to ask yourself, does Malachi trust the calls coming in. Does Malachi trust the communication from the defensive coordinator? Because if you look at that game against Vanderbilt, they had Malachi doing a lot. Like, Malachi has to come down from his strong safety position and communicate to both linebackers and defensive linemen what's going on. Then he has to quickly communicate to the rest of the secondary what's going on and then jump back into his spot. There was a lot that was asked of Malachi. That was a lot. And you wonder in that moment, because the communication from the coaches wasn't right from the get-go, that it all boiled up and festered up in frustration. And that's what led to Malachi, because him not trusting what's going on because the calls are coming in late and he has to do everything or overcompensate. That's the picture I'm painting here that I want you to get the gist of, right? That's the picture I'm painting here. So it's the culture of the lack of awareness, the lack of communication, the lack of eye discipline, the lack of toughness, the lack of being super locked in. And is everybody super locked in? And I'm not just talking players, I'm talking coaches too. Is everybody super locked in? Because when you play at Bama and when you coach at Bama, it requires a keen focus. It requires a keen sense of every detail. That's the picture I'm painting here. We go to a cool call topic here, John, and we look at one Amari Cooper, former Alabama wide receiver, national champion, two-time SEC champion, a guy that was the Fred Biletnikoff Award winner, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-SEC, and a unanimous All-American in the 2014 season. Amari Cooper, a former first-round pick in the 2015 NFL Draft. He's on the move again for the fourth time in his NFL career, but this time he's going to a Super Bowl contender in the Buffalo Bills. How about that? Amari Cooper, 7-time 1,000-yard-plus receiver. Amari Cooper, 5-time Pro Bowler. He's going to an NFL Super Bowl contender. If Josh Allen can't get this thing right in terms of beating Patrick Mahomes with Amari Cooper, I don't know. I just don't know. Coop going to the Bills after time with the Raiders, the Cowboys, and more recently, the Cleveland Browns. So looking forward to seeing Coop do his thing for Bills Mafia. We take a final break here on the show, folks. We'll touch that down. We get back. We wrap things up with breaking down more of the injury update for Alabama heading into this matchup against Tennessee. We'll get into that and wrap things up after this.
I'm Malachi Moore, and you're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith on Touchdown Alabama YouTube channel.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
What's going on? This is Benny Bice. I'm the founder and owner of Touchdown Alabama, and you guys are supporting one of the only independent outlets covering Alabama football today. No other sports, no networks, just Alabama football. Roll Tide Roll.
All right, Bama Nation, we appreciate all of you checking us out here on a Wednesday. In studio, hottest show on the streets, talking Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA. Continue doing what you do, hitting the like button, tapping that thumbs up, hitting that subscribe button, getting yourself locked in to non-stop Bama football coverage. But final topic of conversation here, John. A bigger breakdown or more in-depth breakdown of the injury updates that happened today for Alabama. King and DeBoer in the SEC coaches teleconference. Offensively, we're looking at two wide receivers, veterans, but Alabama will have back against Tennessee. And I'm talking about Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law. It is huge to have these two back. It's huge because their experience on the field as pass catchers, as blockers, Kobe Prentice is a route runner. Kendrick Law is just a bona fide playmaker. Their experience in terms of creating for themselves as well as others out there on the field, and to have these two back takes pressure off Ryan Williams. Takes pressure off the freshman. I mean, he is electric, don't get me wrong. That guy is that guy's the bomb diggity, right? Williams is the bomb diggity. But to take some pressure off of him, it is great to have two veteran receivers back in Prentice and Law. And King and DeBoer mentioned that both of these two probable for Saturday against Tennessee. Once again, what that means in coach speak, in injury term form, both of those two will play. Both of those two should play. Probable means if they wake up and they are breathing, they're going to play, right? So I go back to the Georgia game. Quay Russaw, Justin Jefferson were both listed as probable. They both dressed out. They both played. I look at these two. They will both dress out. They will both play. K-Law and Kobe Prentice. And we've been waiting for K-Law to have his breakout game. We've been waiting for. He does too much for you offensively to not have him with the ball to have a breakout game. We've been looking at Kobe Prentice. He's got experience. He runs routes. He can make plays out there. Prentice, freshman and sophomore year, did a lot of good things. Junior year hasn't really popped the way he would have liked to, but both of these guys are talented. Both of these guys can play. Both of these guys need to be out here. So it's good for Alabama to have both of these guys on the field against Tennessee. I mean, of course, Caden Jones, the linebacker, is out for this game. Yancey Pierre, the reserve linebacker, questionable for this game, meaning he will be a game-time decision depending on how he feels. And then you have Damani Jackson joining Prentice and Law being probable, so Jackson will play as well. But as always, Bama Nation, you want the best in news, notes, information, coverage on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store. You got the Android phone. For your audio needs, check us out, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, iHeartRadio, Google Play. We got you covered there. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Friday, continuing the conversation that is Tide football. Remember, Alabama fans, don't forget to do this. Subscribe to touchdownalabama.com. You get you that subscription to touchdownalabama.com today. You can have everything Bama in the palm of your hands. Be the insider that you need to be by getting touchdownalabama.com. The link is in the description right there for you. Gotta appreciate you all, the Bama fans, for all the calls, donations, chatting in the chat line, super chats, all of you guys doing what you do, making this your spot, your show, your platform for all things Bama football. Gotta show some love to my man John Ivory in the production studio, holding things in order. Till next time, folks, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children, continue doing the right thing, fine thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing too. Not be bored there. You get yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Till next time, folks, and your man Stephen Smith, and you've been listening to In My Own Words.